everyone, before we get into today's video, I just want to remind you guys to check out the Sad Milk collaboration channel. It is a fun channel between some of my YouTuber friends and I, including myself, obviously, Oz Media, One Topic at a Time, The Click, Salty, Reddits, Wonderstruck Guy, and Flinders. Link is in the description box. Make sure to check it out down below. We are uploading videos every single week. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Blair, or the Illuminati, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a company that everyone has heard of, but not everyone knows all that much about. Tupperware. There's even one show on Netflix, F is for Family, that makes fun of the fact that they're an MLM. They use the name Plastaware, even though we know it's Tupperware, let's be honest here. And one of the show's main characters, Sue, desperately tries to get into the company, throwing Plastaware parties and crying her eyes out in a kitchen full of boxes of plastic tubs. That's the true life of a Hanbot right there, if you ask me. However, Tupperware wasn't always an MLM. They've been around since the 1940s, grown to become a multi-billion-dollar company, and now we rarely talk about them. When we make fun of the Hanbots here on this channel, we're usually talking about Unique and LuLaRoe or essential oils and phony fitness products. So what happened to Tupperware? Why aren't we all cringing at anti-MLM Tupperware posts? Well, let's start digging and find out. Tupperware was invented in 1946 by Earl Tupper. Back then, this was revolutionary and would forever change future meal prepping lives. However, in the 40s, plastic was new and unpopular. It was brittle, smelly, and ugly, and no one had worked out what it might be good for. Tupper arranged for his employer, DuPont, to sell him their remnants in the form of polyethylene slag. Probably butchered that. Sorry. It was black and hard, and yes, it smelled. But Tupperware turned it into a moldable plastic that was flexible and durable. He made it waterproof, airtight, and, as I'm sure you're aware, it was able to keep food fresh for longer. So this would be the origin story of a successful company, right? Well, it wasn't that simple. Whether this because Tupper was ahead of his time, poor marketing, or people's lack of trust in plastic products, I can't say for certain. But according to Businessweek magazine, in retail stores, Tupperware fell flat on its face. This is an unfortunate reality for many inventions that don't make the shelves. Early days are hard for businesses. You'll often make less than a previous 9 to 5 and see the most revenue put back into the business itself. Tupper didn't want to give up on his product, and I can appreciate that. Sometimes you just need a fantastic marketer, someone that can bring the product to the people to be the face of the company. Enter his very first Hanbot, Brownie Wise. Brownie didn't suggest a new marketing tactic, pitching to larger businesses, or any of the traditional methods. Unfortunately, the woman Tupper took on, despite her sales background, pulled the Tupperware company deep into an MLM structure. In 1951, Brownie Wise started selling Tupperware at home parties, and Tupperware became sold exclusively through home parties. Take note of that, exclusively through home parties. I understand that these home parties may have been fantastic advertising, but when you force your customers to listen to your speeches and your smiley, obnoxious parties about plastic, I don't know, it's a little over the top for me. But at the time, it was new. But there were some benefits to these parties, getting neighbors together and giving jobs to women. Back in the 1950s, only about 1 in every 3 women were in the workforce, leaving most of them stuck at home. So hey, this was a good entry into sales for them and had them earning their own money. Sort of. We'll get more into the numbers later, but I won't pretend there was no benefit to these parties. Personally, I think a better way to get to know your neighbor is with a housewarming party rather than guilting them into buying plastic products, but hey, maybe that's just me. From there, the parties expanded. Brownie Wise was deemed the queen of Tupperware and actually had a book written about her. From the end of 1950 to 1952, she took in over 2 million sales. Brownie surprised 1,200 guests with a luau on an island she owned. She was living the life, right? Well, that particular party in 1957 proved to be her downfall. Brownie was so absent-minded that she couldn't consider the weather. She threw a party for over 1,000 people on an island during a thunderstorm. It's a whole new level of stupid. There's plenty of MLMs that have some ridiculous tactics, I'll admit, but I've never seen party on an island in a thunderstorm before. This caused serious injuries to 21 people, and Tupperware was in court to settle the matter for years to come. Brownie was fired in 1958 over apparent general differences of opinion in the Tupperware business operation. She was made to leave her luxurious mansion and fell from grace. To put it bluntly, she kinda deserved it. You don't throw a party on an island during a storm. How desperate do you have to be to sell Tupperware that you forget about or completely neglect someone else's safety? Now, before I get into some MLM sales stories, we're going to touch on Tupperware's products. Though Tupperware does sell some kitchen supplies, even a few plastic toys, I'll be focusing on the containers they're known for. The very first item I saw and clicked on is a large, shallow purple Tupperware. And it's, well, I mean, are my eyes adding a zero somewhere? It's $20, and that's on sale. It's normally $22 for one container. I can get 50 containers from Prep Naturals for that price on Amazon. And it's not just Amazon either. Look at how much plasticware, even more expensive, greener plasticware I can get for under $20. It's obnoxious and almost insulting to charge $20 for one purple Tupperware container. It's not even clear, so you can't even see the food inside, like, come on. I never thought I would be so offended by a price tag before, but as it is with Pure Romance, Unique, Herbalife, and all these other overpriced MLMs out there, their products are expensive so that the upline can make that sweet profit for as long as possible while tossing pennies to those at the bottom. Anyway, after some more browsing, I also found 4 cereal bowls that were originally $29 marked down to $20. I can understand if they'd be called pasta bowls, but why call them cereal? Is that how people are eating cereal these days? They microwave it first? Why not just bowls? Also a really weird creative decision, and yeah, it's not clear or cheap. There's tiny mini bowls that barely fit a handful of strawberries for $20. Then, cheap looking microwave plates for $20, and again, the prices are kind of insulting, and I don't think I'd be able to convince my friends to pay for this plastic no matter how much they cared about me. It's literally cheaper everywhere else that I looked. I understand that for some people you pay for the name brand. It could be Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Supreme, there's plenty more, but Tupperware is trying to be the luxury brand of plasticware? I don't get it, because there's really no reason for them to be charging this much. So let's get back into who this company is now that we know a bit about their past and what they sell. Backing up to 1958 again. After the thunderstorm incident, things changed a bit around Tupperware, and it wasn't really a great start for them. Mr. Tupper sold the company to Rexall in 1958, and it spread to Europe in 1960, and a new sales tactic, carrot calling, became, well, a thing. Carrot calling was when Tupperware saleswomen went door to door and asked their neighbors if they could leave carrots with them. The saleswoman would tell them to leave a bunch of carrots in a Tupperware container, then a bunch however they'd ordinarily seal it. So hence the name carrot calling. I don't totally mind the sales tactic because it lets the consumer make up their own mind. If it works, which they'll see for themselves, they can go back to the saleswoman and buy Tupperware. Plus, hey, free vegetables. One woman, Sylvia, and her husband were offered a distributorship and grew 500% in the first year. They became millionaires, and Sylvia was appointed the company's 3rd female regional vice president in 1983. And Sylvia is absolutely a success story, and that's great. But we all know that for every success story in an MLM, there's thousands that will fail. So the stories I tell you here may not be from 30 plus years ago, but I've dug up some newer ones that I'm sure you can all relate to. One of these is a stay-at-home mother of 3 Angela. In Reno, Nevada, one of Angela's friends hosted a Tupperware party. To Angela, this sounded like a great way to get out of her house. And since the woman selling the Tupperware said the money was going for fertility treatments, Angela felt obliged to buy. This is something pretty common with MLMs that we've seen across the board. That guilting, hey hun, I could really use your help, is all too common. But of course, Angela was dragged into becoming a seller. What initially was a favor and some help for a friend became weekly rallies, a mix of fun games with prizes and high-pressure tactics meant to get sellers to buy more and sell more products. Each salesperson was also pushed to bring a certain number of guests with them each week. At first, Angela said she felt like she had a new group of best friends. That was the whole reason she signed up, after all, to socialize. No wonder it would be so hard to leave, even if she realized the entire company was a scam. The friendships probably felt real to her, and those friendships with her friends and with Angela's own downline kept her stuck. That is, until those relationships were tested. When her mother was diagnosed with advanced cancer, she began to rethink her involvement with the company. They said, "You need to use your mom's cancer as your sales pitch," she explained. "You need to turn it into a party and ask everyone that cares about you and your mom to help you sell Tupperware." Her mother's cancer was even used by other sellers as a pitch during rallies. It's bad enough to use your own mother's cancer at rallies, but to use someone else's mother? What do these saleswomen think they were doing? Tupperware isn't exactly chemotherapy here, but as furious as this makes me, it's all too common. This isn't exclusive to Tupperware, yet it still bothers me to see this type of behavior invade every single damn MLM I've covered. Thankfully, Angela was able to get out, and when she left, she claimed, "On paper, it looked like I made a lot of money, but I lost a lot of money. Every month, they would have a sales catalog and you had to buy samples to show at the parties. You also had kits that were always changing. So whenever a product would change, you'd have to buy more so you could have it at the party. On my 1099, it looked like I made thousands of dollars, when in reality, most of that money went to buy samples, catalogs, items for the parties, and things like that," she said. Angela, of course, was not alone. A forum on essentialbaby.com shows one user asking if anyone had bad experiences being a Tupperware rep because they were considering doing it themselves, and it's a good thing they did. Multiple users commented with some pretty classic MLM type stories. One user says she tried it for a couple months and she wasn't the pushy sales type like most of the other girls were. "So trying to get the 3 parties a month proved too hard for me, plus my manager quit and got a new one and then canceled meetings on me, so by that time it was too late." Someone by the username Groovy Granny, which props to that name, said she enjoyed it but typically came back with a $200 profit per party. After taxes, planning, and hours put in, I'm not sure that's worth it. But the most frustrating story to me was from a seller that has tried to get out, and like some strange gang, Tupperware refuses to let her go. Bethany McMahon told her story back in 2008. She said that her 2-year history with Tupperware was filled with frustration and had cost her hundreds of dollars. Now she can't even quit the company without a huge hassle. It started 2 years ago when she thought she would attempt to supplement her income. She had sold several other home sale products over the years without much drama, but Tupperware, she said, was the most difficult to deal with and required many hidden out-of-pocket costs. Now, we'll get more into the numbers in just a moment, but I'm going to include what Bethany says her figures were so that you can see a real-world example. A typical party, McMahon said, might bring her $400 in sales and a $100 commission. But out of her commission, she must pay for additional shipping requested by the customer. On top of that, she must also pay for warranty items. That means if someone returns a product for a free replacement, it's McMahon who must pay for a new item at a 75% employee discount and then give it to the customer. It's a discount, but it's still coming out of our pockets, she said. Furthermore, McMahon said that sales consultants are encouraged to purchase items to use as samples for Tupperware parties at 75% off, to offer discounts and coupons at parties as well. McMahon said it once stated costing her money to be a Tupperware lady that she had decided she had enough. But quitting the company isn't that simple. According to the fine print of her sales agreement, McMahon must be available for 8 months after her supposed last day with the company to handle inquiries and warranty issues with customers with whom she had already dealt. Once this article came out, Tupperware's vice president of public relations at the time, Eleanor Steele, commented on it. She said that customers pay for shipping charges, not consultants, and consultants don't have to pay for warranty replacement items or demo items. So that's it? If Bethany was misinformed that she didn't have to pay these things, then why was she charged for them? Why does she say she was unable to speak to customer service and left to hawk $750 worth of Tupperware online? It seems like Eleanor Steele was only suddenly available when things went public, but not when things came up long ago. I'm sure you all know there's no money in MLMs by now, but to hammer that point home, we're going to briefly go over the figures. One thing worth noting from the very start here is that Tupperware is not a product that requires frequent replacing. Think about how often you buy Tupperware, really. Whether you have a few good plastic containers or one cabinet that's a mess of plastic and unmatching lids, it's not something you're getting as often as other MLM products. Herbalife, Unique, Young Living, doTERRA, It Works, Beachbody, Monate. All of these other companies sell products that unfortunately oblivious customers are going to run out of and need to buy more. But that's not the case with Tupperware. Therefore, being a Tupperware consultant requires constant searching and promotion to draw in new people. So diving into the numbers here, Tupperware's maximum commission is 35%, and by their own claim of making $2.3 billion from 3.1 million customers in 2015, the average amount of money one consultant made is $260. That's under $22 a month. The numbers speak for themselves, and I'm pretty certain those Tupperware consultants are spending more on those products. Like every other MLM I've covered, the average person cannot make a living at this. There might be a few people that make it, like Sylvia in the 60s, who we mentioned earlier, but the vast majority won't. Bethany quit when she realized it was actually costing her money to be a Tupperware lady, which means that until that point, she was lining the pockets of corporate, wealthy bosses at the top of that pyramid. And this isn't how it should be. A company doesn't have to be hurting children and drowning in lawsuits to be a bad idea. Plastic containers that hold food. It's simple. It doesn't need a party or salesperson anymore. You can find them anywhere for cheap, and it's not a novel concept any longer, and I'm relieved to see this company slowly falling apart because of that. The first sign of Tupperware falling apart arrived this year actually, a lawsuit. There's been a massive fallout because of it since the beer has taken its toll on many companies, and this lawsuit came at a very inopportune time for Tupperware. In March 2020, there is an article from the Wall Street Journal entitled "How Tupperware Lost Its Grip on America's Kitchens" and explained that Tupperware has been declining for years. Of course, everyone took hits in March this year, but Tupperware stock has been sinking rapidly. On the week of February 24th, the day the lawsuit came out, their shares closed at $2.60 as opposed to the $96 they traded at 6 years ago. So what about this lawsuit, and why has it caused Tupperware to take such a downward spiral? Well, oddly enough, it's because of Tupperware's beauty brand. Bet you didn't know Tupperware was in the beauty business too, but they own a company called Fuller Cosmetics in Mexico. This company, owned by Tupperware, has had some issues with financial reporting. While challenges in Brazil, China, and the US and Canada businesses persisted in the fourth quarter in line with our expectations, our preliminary results were further affected by financial reporting issues in Fuller, Mexico. Tupperware's interim CEO, Christopher O'Leary, said in the news release, "We are working rapidly to address these Fuller, Mexico issues in order to finalize our 2019 results." Following the news, several law offices announced they would be investigating the company. According to another law firm, the Thornton Law Firm, the complaint alleges that defendants throughout the class period made false and misleading statements and failed to disclose the following. 1. Tupperware lacked effective internal controls. 2. Tupperware would need to investigate Fuller Mexico's accounting and liabilities. 3. Tupperware would be unable to timely file its annual report on Form 10-K for its fiscal year 2019. 4. Tupperware did not properly account for its accounts payable and accrued liabilities at Fuller, Mexico. 5. Tupperware provided overvalued earnings per share guidance. 6. Tupperware would need relief from its $650 million credit agreement. And 7. As a result, defendant statements about Tupperware's business, operations, and prospects were materially false and misleading or lacked a reasonable basis at all relevant times. It is challenged that when the market learned the truth about Tupperware, investors suffered damages. To say the least, none of it looks good. Even though this is about Fuller Cosmetics and foreign companies, it says a lot to me about who Tupperware is and where their beliefs lie. But at least their shady business practices are finally coming to light, and I hope soon we'll be seeing some more well-deserved fallout from this. After all my research, I've got two main things to say about the Tupperware brand. If you want to meet new people and new neighbors and make friends in town, then by all means, have a party, a housewarming party, a birthday party, a book club, invite your new neighbor out for coffee. Whatever you want to do, you do you. Although not right now because we're all basically in solitary confinement, but you know what I mean. Tupperware isn't the way to meet people. MLMs aren't the way to meet people. It's hard to know a friendship is real when the friend is pressuring you to sell for them, become their downline, or buy their products. Second, just buy other plasticware. The people at these parties might be so insistent and friendly, and they act like they care about you or say it's for their expenses, but their bills are not your responsibility. Don't pay $20 for a random ugly purple piece of Tupperware. Most of that money won't even go to them anyway, and you're better off handing them a $20 bill if you really want to help. You have to work to find plasticware more expensive than this. Seriously. But anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's video. Let me know your thoughts on this company's transformation into an MLM. And of course, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're new. If you want to see more content from me, pop open my description box. You're going to find links to all of my social media, second channel for my puppy Casper, and my collaboration channel with Sad Milk. Again, thank you guys so much for making it to another video. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!